My name is Iris. I'm 43 years old. I was born and raised in Honduras, and I had been married to my abuser for 16 years. Now I have been free from my abuser for 2 months. My husband is a very charming person. You would never suspect that he's an abuser. He is a musician, a gospel singer, a minister. He do everything for the church. When I will ask him to do things for us, for our family, it was almost that I had to beg. But yet he was the man of God that I needed to listen to and obey and submit. His father is the bishop of one of the largest churches in New England. My husband's parents were our marriage counselors. Every problem that we had in our marriage always was addressed by them. There was a pattern that we needed to follow. But the less the woman says, the better we look. So I needed to learn from the get-go to be this submissive person. I was 22 years old when we met at church. He was very charming and very intelligent, but very into himself. I didn't know that he was the bishop's son. He had to use that to convince me that he was a good guy, actually. My mom kept reassuring me. He seems like a nice guy, and he comes from a great family. We started to go out. In a way, he kind of convinced me, and I started to idolize his family. The same way that everybody else in the congregation would idolize them. Because in the outside is the Huxtable family, the perfect family. Powerful, they're all college graduates and well put together. And here I am, a girl from a third world country who came to this country with nothing. So I said, hey, you know what? He seemed safe. The more comfortable he was with me, the more I noticed that he was more demanding. In one of our dates, he proposed to go hiking, and I said, sure, I love hiking. So we went for a hike, and in our way back, we happened to get lost. And oh my goodness, he lost it. He completely lost it. And I was a little like, oh my goodness, what happened to the nice person that I thought he was? So I remember going home and telling my parents what had happened. And I said, oh my goodness, I think I'm done. If he calls, I'm not home. I just don't want to go out with him anymore. So he called, and my mother said, well, he seems like a nice person. And he comes from a nice family. I think you should give him a chance. And he was very apologetic. And he said that will never happen. And he was very remorseful. And I said, okay, I forgave him. And we got back together. After a year of dating, he proposed to me. I had finished my associate's degree, and I was very driven, planning to continue to go to school, but I have gotten a really good job. So I was working, I had my own apartment. Now that we are engaged, we put in our money together. But it was more like my money together and his name in my account, in our account, because he didn't have any savings. He didn't have any money. So I agreed to that because he convinced me. He thought, well, we're getting married, why not? But then he started overspending. The bank will, send letters that we overdraft their account. It was just crazy. So I said to him, if you need to spend money in that account, you have to let me know so I can balance the book. And so he was very upset about that. And then he said, I'll take over. So I said, okay, go ahead, take over the finances. We get home after a honeymoon. I went back home to my mother crying. And I said, I think I made a mistake. He was a different person. I got pregnant. I think the baby was about 3 months. I had not slept for days. I had said to him, well, Friday night, can you get up in the middle of the night with the baby and help me? And then let me sleep in on Saturday because I'm exhausted. And he just left. And I remember just crying. I was emotionally drained. I felt helpless. I felt like I wasn't married to someone. I was a single mom. And this is within a year. Now, prior to us getting married, we had discussed of me going back to school because that was something that it was very important to me. So I asked him, well, the baby now it's a year old. He's no longer breastfeeding. I'm going back to school and follow my dreams. And again, he told me, school is for stupid people. You don't need school. We don't have the money. It was all about him. It was almost like raising another child for me because I had to take care of him. I had to take care of him even sexually. I remember coming home after having my first baby, overhearing my ex talking to his brother, bragging about that his wife and him had intercourse 3 weeks after having a baby. My ex said, oh, I can have me, before 3 weeks. And I remember saying no, because I just had a baby. I don't want to. And finally, I gave in. And I remember just the pain again. But I felt like, well, if I didn't do it, then I wasn't going to be a good wife. Because there was this competition between the brothers. I got pregnant for the second time. And we were doing very well. We had money in the bank. We had properties. So I said, well, this is the right time. If then we didn't have money to pay for school, now we do have the money. So I asked him again, can I go back to school? And he said, nope. Got pregnant again, third child. And we were looking for homes. And I remember that he was looking into this $1 million homes. He found the house for us. And I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know if we can afford that. Or we put it under your name because you have the good credit. I was totally not in agreement. I don't want to move into that house. If something happens to you, how am I going to afford that house? So he promised, oh, we're going to be okay. I don't care what you're promising because by this time I have gotten used to his promise mean nothing. But if I didn't agree, then I wasn't obedient or I was a bad wife. For the first time, I think I stood my ground. I came out and I said, I'm not buying that house. He forged signatures in the mortgage. So the house will be under my name. He has taken my money away. He will control what we bought in the house. He will buy the groceries. If I needed to buy my personal items, I will have to come to him like a child. He used to travel a lot. He was going out of town. And I said, well, you going out of town, did you bought groceries for us? Oh, yeah, I brought the groceries. I was upstairs. I didn't bother to come and check if he had bought the groceries. And he left. Then it was time for dinner. The refrigerator was empty. And I remember my son saying, Mom, I'm hungry. He left me $30 for gas. And he was gone for 5-6 days. I had no access to get into our bank account. I was embarrassed to call my mother or anyone to tell them we don't have food in the house. My brother's wife, she will always call me every day. At this point, I really didn't even tell her everything that was going on between my husband and I because I was so embarrassed. I wasn't telling anyone. And I said, we don't have any food in the house. And the kids are hungry. And so she said, what? She's like, I'm coming and I'm going to take you to the market. I said, no, no, no. So she said, well, if you're not letting me come, you need to call his mother. She needs to know what he's doing. I said, she's not going to believe me. Well, call her. So I called his mother. And I said, I told her what happened. I said, your son left us with no food. So she said, okay, well, meet me tomorrow at the supermarket. So the next day, Sunday, I met her at the supermarket with my daughters. We went food shopping. And I told her everything. I said, he's acting very strange. He's not part of our family anymore. He's disengaged. He's neglecting me. He's neglecting the children. He's neurotic. He's screaming. He was cussing. I've never seen him at that level. And she just shake her head and just kind of, okay. She heard what I said. After my fourth child was born, my husband started complaining that we were having financial difficulties and that I must go back to work. So I came excited and I said, I got hired. I have a job. And it was something that I really wanted to do because it was working with youth. The problem was that to take this job, I needed to work on a Tuesday night because that's when they had staff meetings. Now, Tuesday night for him, he has to go to church. And he said to me, well, I guess you can't take that job. And I couldn't take the job. That was the moment that I said, well, I need to go back to school. And he agreed before we got married that I was going to be able to finish school. The minute I decided that I was going to go back to school, he said, well, we don't have money and you need to go back to work. And I said, fine, I'll get myself a job, no problem, which I did. I was going to school, taking care of the house, taking care of the children. I would try everything that would not make him upset so I can stay in school. So he demanded for me to quit school. And I said, well, what are your conditions? Why do I have to quit school? And he just said, well, we don't have money. And I said, but I'm working. I got a third job at the school. He was not satisfied with that. At that point, I met with one of my counselors because I was having difficulties in school because he was giving me hell at home. Just horrible, mistreating me as a child, like I was his child. I could not make any decisions without him. At that point when I was in school, I didn't know what really I was being abused. Not only physically, but now it was emotionally and mentally. I was just drained. He had told me, if you want to stay with me, you need to submit. And whatever I said, it goes. But I received a phone call from a pastor from another church. And she asked me, how you doing? And I said, I'm doing great. I wasn't telling people what was going on in our marriage. And she pretty much said, your husband is having an affair. She didn't give me the name of the lady that he was having an affair with, but she did confirm that this young lady was part of our church. I refused to believe it. My Christian husband would, go on with an affair. And I immediately said to myself, no one will believe me. I needed more evidence. So I called my cousin and I said, I need your help. And he said yes. So I had the information where he was going to be meeting this young lady. I just needed him to take pictures because he's been accusing me of lying, and he had gone to my parents and lie about me. He had gone to his parents and lie about me. He had gone to many of our church
friends and lie about me, accusing me that I was the one who was in an affair. He tried to make me look like I was crazy, that I was the one who was leaving the marriage.
All alone, he was trying to isolate me from the children. So I live in that fear constantly.
I remember giving him an ultimatum. I want you out of the house by Saturday. If you don't leave the house by Saturday, I will call your parents and I will call the police. We need to explain to the children that we need a break and that you're going to be away for a couple of weeks, because these children were watching the abuse. He was the one who filed for divorce. And of course, he lied to the children. He told the children all alone that I was the one who filed for divorce. Mommy wants a divorce. Mom filed for divorce. And I couldn't find an attorney. Any attorney that was recommended to me, do you have any association with this church? Do you know this family? They will say yes. The church had retainers with all of the best attorneys in the city. And finally, I got that phone call that I was waiting for desperately. And he was an attorney, a pro bono attorney. And I just thought, she's going to help me. She knows domestic violence. She knows abuse. She's my only way out. I knew I should have left her office the moment she said, "Oh, I know that church." She just wanted me to sign the documents, give custody of my children to him. She didn't want to discuss anything that would help me to get to the truth.
My forensic accountant said the church is not handling the church money, finances, legally. One of the brothers is the accountant at the church, and how the church was actually able to manipulate his pay stubs in a way that would look that he's only making $20,000.
I remember receiving emails from my husband's father. They were threatening emails. One particular email, he asked me to deny the truth. He said, "You need to tell people that everything that you have said, it's a lie." He was trying to keep me quiet so the church wouldn't find out the truth, despite of evidence that we had of neglect of the children and the fear that the children were having living with him. His charm won him the 50-50. His family all alone has been trying to keep me quiet. They never believed me. They didn't want a scandal.
The church is their life.
I no longer believe in the church system because I know it's imperfect. But what got me through was my relationship that I had with God. I am grateful that I'm not longer subjected to do things that I didn't want to do. The women's place for me is a place of love, a place where you feel safe. I have found happiness. I have found an energy that I've never felt before. Through cooking, I found my passion and I found healing. And now I am writing my first recipe book. I'm grateful that I have another chance